Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critically Casual. I'm your host, Srekcuf5, and joining me, as always, is the amazing Dorlydev. Say hi, Dev.
And so it begins.
Yes, and so it begins. Yeah, do you have anything you want to say or do before we start talking about this week?
Not offhand yet.
You don't have another rant prepared for the masses?
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet at this point in time in the podcast, okay.
No. Who knows? Maybe not even this podcast.
Oh, wow. I'm excited then.
You piece of crap. You love my rants.
Sometimes I do. Oop. So this
You
week...
tend to instigate most of them.
I do.
Let's play devil's advocate here.
So this week...
No.
This week, I've called it Two Heroes to Save Them All. Because we're talking about the Two Towers. And I just wanted to keep the number 2 in there. Since it's the second time we've talked about Lord of the Rings movies this month. At Other Logic.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So, we're here. We're talking about Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. Not the Twin Towers, the Two Towers. And then we're going to hop into news and spoilers and things. Have you got anything else?
Nope.
No? All right.
Nope.
We're starting then. Let's talk about the Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. So, I'm going to just start by saying, one thing I really appreciated with this movie is that it starts right away. It doesn't give us 10 to 15 minutes of monologue about how two hobbits separated from a group of 7 explorers on a quest to deliver the One Ring.
Because it assumes you saw the last one.
Thank God. Hello, Frodo. Welcome back.
And I agree with you on that because, I also like seeing something we saw in the last movie. It does a quote-unquote flashback in a way, but does it in a way that, is set up for later.
I think I understand what you're talking about.
This movie opens with,
with Gandalf.
With the Balrog.
Yeah.
Which is set up for later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a good reminder. Let's say you haven't seen the first one in a bit, and you're going to theaters to see this.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of important to have a reminder of who this character is, and if you've never seen it, it's like, wait, why is this character important? Oh, he was once with these people. Ah, yes. Uh-huh.
Yes. So, it's a quick minute. It's a quick minute recap. Hey, this is kind of the big thing that happened in the last one. So remember.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it introduces us to an actual real life of Golem. But there's a couple of things that I don't like. Believe it or not, I don't like... There's a lot of flashbacks in this movie. Of course, it's conversations.
Most of them are extended edition stuff.
I know, and I just don't like them. And I understand that's the problem with this movie, but a lot of the moments in this film that I didn't like were the unneeded flashbacks that we got. And
well, they were cut originally.
Yes, I know that. But we saw the extended edition. I'm going to complain about what I saw, which was the unneeded flashbacks in this extended edition.
That's...
See,
You're currently that meme from the Andre show where he shoots and then goes, why would they do that?
Yes.
But it's you shooting yourself.
See, what's happening here is I can still complain about the pacing of a story that is told. And in this movie, the pacing of this story was pretty slow. The first 3 hours of the film were pretty good to watch, but nothing really monumental happens until the Battle of Helm's Deep. So, if it could be cut out, awesome. That's the theatrical version. Cool. But I'm not judging the theatrical version. I'm judging the extended edition. And I did the exact same thing last time where I said I didn't like the added scenes. Same thing here.
No.
In the pacing of the story, I don't really like the added scenes. That being said, I still like this movie.
I know. I'm more, I'm more bewildered at the fact. Okay, can I talk about it for just a moment?
Sure.
It's funny to me that
I'm complaining about the optional thing that we're adding in.
Yes,
I know that. I understand that, and I'm going to complain about it. I understand that you think it's funny, but I've complained about these exact same things in every single movie that we've talked about. Why am I going to stop now, even if it is an extended edition? I complained about pacing and story in Batman v Superman, and that one made more sense as an extended edition.
Yes, I agree.
So don't be calling me a hypocrite here.
It's just humorous to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing the exact same thing I've always done.
No, okay, I'm not.
Keep going.
I'm not criticizing you. This isn't me attacking you. Relax, okay? I'm more just pointing out that I find it humorous.
Okay.
Because from my perspective, I like them because they add more lore and background stuff, if that makes sense. Like, Faramir? Is that his name? I can't remember his name.
Faramir, yeah, his brother.
Faramir? It adds a lot of context to him. Because that entire thing that happens, the flashback with him and Boromir, was not in the theatrical cut. So, like, all of that I like. There's some added stuff with Merry and Pippin to expand the ends and stuff like that a little bit. And there's little things like that I like because also I'm a sucker for lore in medieval stuff. So, because like you are a sucker for all fantasy.
Yes.
Me, when it comes to fantasy, I am the biggest sucker for medieval fantasy, which is this. So like adding more lore and background stuff to this, I love. So I get like adding background to characters and stuff like that we are recently introduced to and connecting them to characters that we knew and more. And then also introducing characters that like slight future spoiler, but we wouldn't have met if you don't add that scene, you don't get introduced to Diethanor, John Noble's character, Sean Bean, and so Boromir and Faramir's father. You don't get introduced to him until the third movie if you watch the theatrical cuts. This gives you some more context and introduces him, which I like because that expands the arc you have with Faramir in the next movie, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess it's also because I'm looking at it from a casual standpoint because I've done that with, other movies as well. That, like, hey, I like this especially because how it contextualizes the through line through all. It's how we have different approaches. I approach things from, like,
I have an exact rebuttal because I didn't like the flashback with seeing the father. The reason I didn't like it is because I liked Faramir's character beforehand. He seemed more enigmatic beforehand. He seemed like more scheming and conniving at first, and then at the very end, when it all matters, he shows the good in humans again because he's that person. And then we finally get to see why he was the quote-unquote scheming, conniving person in the third movie when it finally matters. The character that we see in the movie this time doesn't even matter to the story at all. He only explains why Boromir was the way he was in the first movie. And in that instance, it only makes it so Boromir is a more likable character. And,
well, counterpoint.
Okay.
I think it adds to what you liked about Boromir. Because you see him being this, like, being Boromir's brother and in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And this is his moment. This is his greedy moment. It shows that the greed runs in the line for a moment. And that this is his moment to be Boromir. To be better than Boromir.
Mm-hmm. I actually prefer not knowing his reasons. Like, just him wanting the ring and just being like, I gotta have this ring for my kingdom. Makes sense, because, it's his brother was going on the same quest. That all makes sense already. But now that we have to add this sympathy point that my father is an asshole father who doesn't like me and thinks I'm a worthless piece of space, like...
Well, I think it adds to his showing the betterment of humanity moment, I think, because it shows that, like...
He can be above his father.
Yes, and he's putting the world above family, which is what Boromir did in the end too. Which is what the Fellowship has done the entire time. So, I think it adds to, like, the theme of this trilogy. Personally.
Okay, I get you.
I like how we've really only discussed one thing so far.
Exactly. And it still doesn't...
That's how much I love this movie.
Yeah, and it still goes from there, though. Like, other flashbacks I don't like is I don't like a lot of the conversation between Aragorn and Arwen that we get. Like, I understand
I can agree with that because we already kind of understand it.
We also don't need the flashback conversations between Arwen and other Rivendell elf man who can read time.
Hugo?
Yeah. No.
Alderaan. That's not a flashback though.
Well,
Elrond.
Yeah. Well, not all of it. Well, it's happening in real time, yes, but some of it is part of the conversation is an unneeded part. The extended edition part that I don't like. There's also...
Or does the Future Vision stuff?
There's the Future Vision stuff. There's some extra Future Vision stuff, but that was in the original theatrical cut. At least some of it was, which I don't mind it. Let's see. What other specific... Did I write them down? I did not write down any other flashbacks. That bugged me. So that's just the flashbacks. Ultimately,
you always hate flashbacks.
A little bit. That's kind of why I like that this movie just opened and then did its thing, and then same with the ending. It kind of just ended because that part of the story was done, and it didn't kind of lead us on for 20 minutes about how there's still more of the journey to go, and I don't know.
The last one didn't do that. It set up the next
I'm not
steps.
saying that the last one did it. It's just other movies have done it. So it was something I liked that this one didn't do. And
wait, hold up. Can I point out a hypocrisy from you?
Go ahead.
Just for a second. You complained about that with Infinity War.
Which part?
If I remember correctly, it just ended.
That I don't remember. But
if I remember correctly, but I might be misremembering.
I mean, yes, I could have, and it's possible the reason that I didn't like the way that ended because it was a huge sudden fight, and then 5 minutes later the movie was over. And this, it's not a huge sudden fight, and then 5 minutes later the movie is over. It's a huge sudden fight. There's resolution for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then the movie's done, and that's it. Where in other films, there's like the climax of the film, then there's 10 or 15 moments of maybe resolution, and then there's about another 5 to 10 minutes of leading on to a sequel if it's not at the end of the trailers or at the end of the credits. And I'm oversimplifying here genres and movies as a whole, but And additionally, I've also told you this in the past. I can like things about some movies and dislike them about other movies.
I know.
I know it bugs
I
you,
know.
but it's all approach.
I just like pointing it out because it's me noticing through lines through our story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, let's see. Other things I wanted to talk about before we actually get into spoilers. You said at one point the kind of message was just. Well, I mentioned it and you kind of agreed with me, but whatever. It was that the message of this movie was about the betterment of humanity, essentially, how humans can be good. Do you think that's the main moral of this movie? Or do you think there's any other messages that this movie's trying to say?
I mean, there's kind of the through lines. There's a lot of other messages in this movie, but that's just because there's other plots. Is how I'd put it.
Okay.
Like the main plot of this movie is the betterment of man, because of Faramir and because of Rohan.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rohan as a whole, and its story. So I would say that's the theme of this one. Another theme you could say is sometimes you need to take action before things become really bad, and then if you don't, you might end up like the Ents, or they lose so much by the end of this. Not because they had every right to take action.
Mm-hmm.
They should have been doing it sooner. You know, they should have prevented the death of thousands of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly relatable, but whatever. So, I think there's a lot of themes in this movie. There's, of course, Gandalf is the spiritual rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Is a theme for Gandalf in this. Because he's still Gandalf, but he's a better Gandalf.
One that's theoretically been gone for 300 human lifetimes in his own perspective.
Yeah. Like, so he's also about betterment, but he's also about not losing who you were before.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way. And also that, like, sometimes people need to, like, be better than their predecessor on what they do. Because, what happens with him. Of course, there's the message of friendship that is Gimli and Legolas the entire time. Different backgrounds, but they become the closest of friends by the end of it. And bit of environmental ism in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't fuck up the planet, because then the planet will fuck you up.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, that was kind of more the one that I was thinking you were going to bring up sooner, but you went through every other storyline first. Because, like, when watching this movie, I saw, humans can be good, and it doesn't have to be all greed all the time. And then story 2 was industrialization versus nature.
Yes, I would definitely say that is the second theme, because there's two plots that are about betterment of man, and one plan about nature versus industrialization.
Mm-hmm. So that, and definitely one thing that I liked is that there's, in both the two movies that we've seen so far, we've seen different portrayals of greed that takes them too far. Where in the first movie we had the dwarves of Moria, who apparently dug too deeply and unleashed a behemoth that murdered them, and we have Saruman, who went too far into the forest for his greed and lost everything.
And there'll be a third one in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
There's always one main thing, one main group and or person who is the main icon of greed through these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we talk that? And I don't forget how good this performance is by Andy Serkis. Is as Gollum. but every goddamn time, it's just such a the scene where he's Gollum and Smeagol.
Mm-hmm. Just talking to each other back and forth.
I'll never come back. You need me.
Mm-hmm.
Go away and never come back. And that laughter and oh man, like I forgot how well I memorized his lines just unintentionally too, because the entire time he's on screen and talking, I'm in voice doing that the entire time. I'm like, huh, weird. Like I'm saying them at like before or as they happen. I couldn't do it now, but it's one of those things that I think I've replayed this so many times in my brain that like entire interactions I can go from like Sam to Gollum back and forth, and I'm saying all the lines, but as both characters.
Just movies, man.
I also agree with Frodo on this. There is always hope. Yeah. Is also a theme in this. I would say that's a theme for the entire trilogy, though. But like, God, that fucking performance.
Yeah, Andy Serkis's performance is very good, and it's also what they do for the VFX to cover him in his performance is really good. And like, once again, this movie just does some really good technical mastery stuff, be it the use of miniatures for battles and explosions, or digital effects to cover up Andy Serkis's Gollum, and it's
like I'm surprised how well it still holds up. Gollum. Like, there are some things like his introduction, that first scene that you see him in, that I'm like, but I think as soon as that scene's over, you adjust, and then the illusion is there the rest of the movie for me, which is awesome.
Yeah, how he just actually feels like he's there.
Yeah.
And I think a good part about it is the fact that this is like supposed to be a fantasy world, and we get to see miniaturized people next to tall people, and even if he looked worse than he does, I'm sure he could still pass, because it's just a suspension of disbelief at that point is fine. Like,
but damn, some like the scene that I talked about with the Gollum Smeagol scene.
Yeah.
How visually like good that looks still is mind blowing to me. It's just God. Love it.
One thing though that I thought was kind of confusing in that conversation was they did it twice. Is normally in a conversation between characters talking to each other, they establish what's called our viewing line, or at least that's what I call it. I can't remember the actual technical term, where there's just a wall of where somebody can look at you from, and then the cameras never go past that wall for those characters. They break that rule during this conversation at moments where Smeagol and Gollum are talking back to each other, and then suddenly it'll just be Smeagol talking again, but from the opposite side, and it's a little disorienting, which I understand it's possibly because it's him going through his multiple personalities, and whichever one's on which side is the dominant one, possibly, but...
that actually makes sense, because, yeah, they do flip sides, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Oh, I never noticed that, but that actually, like... See, how I always looked at those shots were to also help establish that, like, this is a conversation, but between two people, but it is one person having it.
Yeah.
Like, as that as well, is how I saw those, like, the pans with the camera. But now that you mention it, yeah, he also, like, they switch sides.
Yeah, where, like, it's like Gollum, Smeagol, Smeagol, Gollum, Smeagol. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does it does the first one to establish who's on which side.
Yeah.
Conversation.
And then,
swap. Conversation. Done. That, oh my God, that is actually...
So that could be what it is. Part of me didn't like it. But
that's fair, but that's still really cool. From just a like a cinematography to like to your brain, like picking up subliminal like message. That's actually That's some brilliance right there, in my opinion.
I might need to rewatch it too, but they could
Just
be
to
doing
make sure.
yeah, just to do that, and there could also be camera angle stuff. Being below him for being beneath them, and being above them for imposing on them. There could be that stuff in play, but I honestly don't remember. The one
Man.
part of there was one part though that bugged me. It was the introduction of Treebeard. Um, he looked, and all the Ents looked great, except for the first moment where Treebeard has Merry and Pippin in his hands and he's walking with them. I thought that looked way too fake. But otherwise,
Yeah.
everything else looked good.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There were some moments with Treebeard that but also doing a giant hulking creature, not the easiest. Given that, like, what, during this time, because this was 2002, funny enough, when did this movie come out? Let me double check.
This movie came out.
Given that the Hulk came out in 2000, this movie came out in 2002. Given that Hulk, the one by Ang Lee, Hulk, came out in 2003. I'll take Treebeard. How it is. Given that Hulk is half that size and looks way worse.
I guess you're not wrong. Oh, let's see. So what I was saying is I wrote down in my notes that Gimli was beard goals because there's one scene where you see him drinking, he gets liquid all over his beard, and then he just grabs the lower part of his beard to wipe it off. That I thought was funny and was goals. I liked it. I did like that you could see the relationships branch from the characters more. Like, one, be it relationships that have already developed in the past from movie 1 to movie 2, or just seeing how new relationships are being formed from relation. What did you do?
Hello?
What did you do?
What is in Central? Because it froze.
It wasn't the second time, no. When he just did that, it was not frozen on my side.
Oh. No, it was frozen completely for me.
Fucking...
Like, I couldn't hear you or anything.
Well, that's normally what happens on my side. Welcome to my
Weird.
world. Yeah. Welcome to the Discord. That's what I deal with every single day.
What were you saying? Did you just do the beard thing? Is that all you did?
Then there was something else I was talking about, but I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Oh, the character development between different characters. I liked how there was development from movie 1 to movie 2 between our different characters, and I liked how you could see the development from different characters being formed. Like, I liked how Legolas and Gimli were obviously becoming more friends and coming up with actual games while fighting each other in a war. And I also thought it was interesting that let's see, where did I put it?
Okay.
Like seeing the relationship with Gollum start with Frodo.
Also with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important one with Gollum too. Then they actually added that kill counter into Return of the King game.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, my brother, he always played as Legolas. I always played as Aragorn.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just try to get the most kills. That was our goal. We would we literally, it would a lot of times come down to like a difference of like 2, because our two characters were very similar. I had a little bit better close quarters, but he had better range. So like there were some points where like they'd come around a turn with like 3, and he'd quickly get like one of them down before I can get to him. So it'd be like easy hits. But like when 5 would come around to turn at us, oh, easy 3 for me. Because I'm up front, so I'm like ha. So, oh god, I love that mechanic that they added to that game that translates just from this joke that starts between these two.
So there's that I enjoyed. Like I said, the relationships with Gollum starting to form. One thing that I really did appreciate was there was a line by Gandalf that was essentially, well, he doesn't say it exactly like this, but he essentially says how hobbits can do great things in the last movie, and in this movie it really comes into fruition, because if it weren't for a couple of hobbits, Saruman never would have been defeated, and if it weren't for a couple of hobbits, the ring never would have made it as far as it had, and it's quite amazing what these little hobbits can do.
Yeah, man. No, dude, I love it. Like, I love everything about it. Like, God.
My favorite scene in this movie, I think, was the Swamp of the Dead. That was one of my favorite moments. Other than the Battle of Helm's Deep. Like, nothing holds a candle to that, but...
Oh, God, at Helm's Deep, like, that is something else. Like, some people complain that it's too long. Man, I want more. I want a movie about that fight. Like, you know what I want? When Amazon, if you're listening, hi, Amazon overlords. Dev here from channel known as HRHQ and Dorlydev. Advice for your big epic Lord of the Rings series that you're planning. When you get to the Helm's Deep episode, don't make it an episode. Make it multiple episodes with different layers of planes of action, and just do what this movie did and make it longer.
I think you're on the right track, but I doubt that's what's going to happen. My guess is what's going to happen is they're going to hire the director that did the Battle of the Bastards for Game of Thrones. Yes. Miguel.
That's who I would love to do a Battle of Helm's Deep.
That's probably who they're going to hire to do it, in all honesty. Only because he's shown the track record of having 2 really awesome large-scale battles set on Game of Thrones. So,
yes, I
could see him doing it. But I still think it'll only be 1 episode.
2 would be nice. I'm literally just asking for 2 episodes at Helm's Deep, like the battle. That's all I'm asking. Mm-hmm. Amazon's made of money. Come on. It's just like a 2-episode Helm's Deep. Like the 3 if you're feeling generous.
The way I see it is I could see kind of like the Battle for the North in Game of Thrones, where half of an episode is them establishing that the war is about to happen. One's going to be the full-on fight there, and then another half of the episode, or the episode afterwards, is going to be like the aftermath and the settlement.
See, I would rather have
2 full-on fights in the...
Well, I would still like the build-up episode. The build-up episode is important, because that builds the tension and the stakes for the fight. What I would like to see is the fight, right? The main fight at Helm's Deep. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of that episode, the bomb.
Okay. Just as it's
and then
approaching.
The next, yeah. Well, either the approachment or it happens, mm-hmm. because that end would be your Empire Strikes Back moment, right?
Uh-huh.
Because this is 3 movies. If we have our build up, our Empire Strike Back, and then our Return of the Jedi moments.
Yes.
Which would be the episode where there's not a lot of hope at the beginning, and all of a sudden, we see fucking Gandalf come up off that hill. Mm-hmm. That would be awesome. That's my ideal version of this. All right, is build up episode, battle half of Helm's Deep with the explosion being the point. Second half, because that also the build up episode may actually give some growth to where is he? Because there's one character in this movie who we see once before, but we have almost zero real connection to. I can't remember his name, but he's the elf.
The one who gets.
Yeah.
The one who's friends with Aragorn.
Yes. But we don't really have a lot of build-up. That would give, the build-up episode would give those 2 a moment. Like, give them some moments to reminisce together,
About what their actual relationship is.
Yeah. Like, that, again, this is just my ideal version of this.
So because say, yeah, we're way off track, but...
Well, again, like, one of the problems with the Battle of Winterfall was the fact that it was one episode with no stakes throughout that episode. I mean, there were stakes, but it didn't feel like there were stakes because nothing happened. There was no major casualties. There was nothing...
You mean like in the season 8 title?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was no consequences to Battle of Winterfall.
While yes, I agree with you on that, I don't think that still makes that a bad episode. Like,
No, the episode. Well, like, it's a bad episode for different reasons. Yes. But I love how the battle is. Mm-hmm. There's just plot issues that happen in that episode.
Yes, like the Battle for Winterfell is by far one of the best cinematic episodes and best directed episodes in Game of Thrones. By far,
yes.
But it's just because how the story ends of that episode is why it's not a good episode.
And just how plot armor is just way too abundant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's just like there's issues that come from a writing standpoint on that episode. Mm-hmm. Which we've talked about those two long enough that we don't need to discuss that. But like, if we have the guy who did those battles, I'm all in for like a remake of this battle because he's the only person, in my opinion, who could recapture or make it better what we already have for Helm's Deep with this movie, because how fucking intense this thing starts. This, whenever I would play with toys, this is the battle I created as a child, because you try to, in your mind, it always has to be Helm's Deep scale, like in just awesomeness, because there's the ladders, there's the keep itself, there's the fights on the walls, there's the archers, like that fucking shot with Aragorn, the woof.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, I fucking love Helm's Deep so much, dude. It is the hypest hype can get. No joke.
And I find it funny because imagine, however, if this movie was edited the same way as the last movie was when it came to fighting, it'd be a lot worse than it was. Because I felt that the cinematography...
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
And the fighting scenes were so much better. So, and I thought that almost instantly, looking at some of the stuff that happened. But at the same time, like, when I break this movie down, to me, with the extended edition, it's what, like 3 hours and 59 minutes or something like that?
Let me go to the time on the movie. We're sitting at 170. No. 179 minutes. So 3 hours, almost on the dot.
Okay. So,
if you watch the Blu-ray extended edition, though, you get 235 minutes. What they add, I have no idea. I just I see Steven kind of processing
so yeah, where'd they add the extra hour?
Seriously, what the fuck?
I bet it's extended edition content like bloopers and behind the scenes and stuff is where the extra hour came from. That's probably my guess.
But no, that's got to be runtime. That all of that would be added. That would be extra. That's like DVD bonuses.
Yeah, that would suck even more. I thought this movie, if the times are the way you had just described it, if that is correct, I thought the first 2 hours of this movie were way too long and pretty darn boring.
Well, you want to know? It only adds 7 minutes to the movie.
Either way, the first 2 hours of this film were kind of boring to me. The only thing that really makes it memorable is the Battle of Helm's Deep.
For me, this one is the most memorable from everything points, because there's all of Gollum's scenes, which I love. And obviously I have them, so they're just in my brain somewhere in the catacombs of my mind. to the point that like it's one of those movies like Toy Story that like if it's on, I'm just subconsciously saying the lines,
Mm-hmm.
And apparently even the voices, because that was fucking weird. I started like I kind of thought about it, I'm like, I'm doing Gollum's voice and then Sam, and then I'm going,
You've already said that. Keep going.
But also there's like, there's Treebeard is super memorable to me. And one of my favorite scenes is is Aragorn on the cliff and then coming back because I've anytime there is a double door that I am walking through,
Mm-hmm.
and Steven has seen me do this in high school multiple times because there were several double doors that we would go through. I make sure I have both hands free to bust them both open and hagger my way through. So that scene is so etched into my mind. Anytime I'm walking through a double door, I have to go like that to go through. There's been a couple times where I didn't realize there was a pull, and then I'm really sad because I can't keep going, and I have to choose the door.
Pretty sure you can keep going.
But yeah, and then there's the entire like 40 minutes of Helm's Deep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Also, it was interesting. I watched this yesterday while playing Animal Crossing, and then I was playing Animal Crossing with friends in town. We're all in our homes, and I'm just subconsciously talking as Golem, playing Animal Crossing as I watched Two Towers. It was a trip. But I fucking love this movie on so many levels. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I had one more complaint. There are 3 moments in this movie where I thought the perspective was off in the film.
Okay.
Where, for instance, there's the scene where we get to see the Oliphants and the riders walking by. The Oliphants seem way smaller than what they actually are in the next movie.
Yeah, they should have done well.
At least compared to the people, because the people seem like they're much taller compared to the Oliphants if they're that far in the distance. So.
Yeah, and also the fact that like what they should have done, like that's a scaling issue that they should have had figured out beforehand.
That was one. Another one was when we first get to see the riders of Rohan as they're walking up to Aragorn. Like you see Aragorn and the group of them run behind the rock, and then as soon as they're behind the rock, the riders are riding by them like, oh, we didn't see these people who are literally just right in front of us. And that just seems like a timing because the distance that they traveled so quickly is off. And then same thing with Aragorn and the Uruk army, because we know that this army is 10,000 units strong, but you see them in the distance from where he's standing, and they just look so tiny. Like, it's clearly not 10,000 people, but...
And then they get there, and you're like, oh yeah, no, that's 10,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Good guess, Aragon. Good guess. Good head count. Did you...
He sat there for a moment. 1, 2... Oh, I'm bleeding. I'll use that for counting. 1, 2, 3...
No, what he did is he counted group formations where they break in flag bearers. He counted each one, counted the flags, multiplied.
Yes. When you're 89 years old
Roughly
in the Middle Earth.
10,000.
All right. So. Sorry.
No, those are fair complaints because a lot of that also comes just down to scaling. They should have figured that out. There's another scene that I actually can point out scaling also is when Frodo. Oh, I'm stuttering a lot today. Frodo and Sam are taken to the
gate?
the Foromir's base.
Okay. Oh, I forgot that gate.
And the mask is taken off, and we get the pan out shot. They seem shorter than they did before. But I think part of it is that they have to I think they had to overcorrect in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because also Merry and Pippin talk about the line of, "Oh, you're sitting at a 4."
Like, if you're 3'8", 3'9", or whatever, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Me, I'm sitting at a 4'9".
Mm-hmm. Whatever numbers there were. Yeah.
3'10". Yeah, something like that. So I think they had to scale it because like there are scenes where Mary was like chest high on some people in the bar and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden the people seem even bigger than before.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of bothered me.
And
that one jarring thing.
And the moment when they're outside the Black Gate and they're hiding as rocks, it's like, wow, look at all that rock. Oh, they're right in front of me?
Well, rocks sometimes fall.
It just seems like a really odd distance. Like, wow, look at that smoke up, or all that dust from up there. And then they walk up, but in the time it takes them to walk up what appears to be about 100 feet, they don't see the two hobbits right down at feet level right in front of them.
No, I can agree. Man, that rock was really good cover. The rock that was near them.
Mm-hmm. So
the rock that wasn't in front of them.
So yeah, there's that. I don't have any.
I mean, he looked like a little shrub, and then as they got closer, all of the shrub turned into a rock.
Sure, I'll say
and
that. It's just the way it was edited. It was like, oh my gosh, they're coming. Oh, they're here.
No, I agree. That one always felt a little odd to me.
So yeah, there's that.
Also, where the fuck is that hill when we go to like the future problem? But like, where the fuck is that hill when we go here next time?
Oh yeah, in the next instance that they're there.
Yeah, because it's nowhere near it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that when you see the gate next time. I'm like, where'd that? Did Saruman go? Hey,
move.
God, nail. Fix the mountain. Get rid of it.
Move that mountain.
On it. And if you get who I'm referencing, good job.
No. All right. So I haven't really got.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to viewers on that one because I know you don't watch Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
So yeah, I don't know much. I don't really have much else I want to talk to or talk about non-spoilerly in this movie. Do you?
No. Am I getting popcorn?
Yes, I am giving you your 10 popcorn kernels.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Am I allowed 11?
No.
Just this once?
No. You get 10 out of 10 and that's it. It can't go higher.
Fine, 10 out of 10.
Does that make you want to change last week's vote?
No. Because they're both 10s, dude. These are my, like, these and, like, a lot of Marvel movies are, like, in the OG Star Wars trilogy are, like, my ideal, like, just cinematic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And also just at-home experiences. Because I can have these on because, A, I've seen them so many times that I don't necessarily have to watch the movie to still appreciate the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so good. All right, like I've seen it so many times that it's just etched into my brain. So there's that. Let me guess. 9.5.
No. This week is actually for me going to be a 9. Because I liked Fellowship of the Ring better.
Ladies and gentlemen, please understand that, man, come on!
I'm not doing it! I'm not going to raise my vote twice for you. No, I raised it up last week for you.
You didn't do it for me. That was all you. I said,
remember I said, oh, you twisted my arm? That was totally your fault.
No, it wasn't. That's entirely on you. I wasn't going to fight you on the 9. I was gonna be like, all right, I respect. Like my hum was, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was probably gonna proceed it with like, huh? You know what? I can appreciate your modest approach. I'm gonna let my nostalgia take me away.
Mm-hmm.
Same with this one. But man,
Like this one,
who are
technically
you?
speaking, I like this one a lot more than in the first one. Technically standing, this one's a much better film than the first one. It's just something about how it flows as a story I don't like as much in this movie, and that matters to me. So,
It would have been better to watch this theatrical cuts. Would you? Okay, if we had watched the theatrical cut, do you think you would have rated this one higher than the other one,
probably not.
or at the same level?
I don't know, honestly. I really couldn't say.
Like if
Because
this movie cut 7 minutes of junk that you didn't care about.
because the last movie has different approaches to different aspects. Like this movie has a lot more to do about action than in the first movie. So the action and the technical aspects around that are a lot better. In the first movie, it's a lot more about setting up the world and the quest and the characters. So we have to spend
Well, I
more
wouldn't
time.
say this one focus. I would say this one has grander action. I wouldn't say there's more action because there's only 2 fights in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was in the last one, and they're both at the same time, so I almost count it as one fight. You know what I mean? Because they're simultaneous.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's battles, but there isn't major like fight. Like I guess there's fights where there's not major battles in this, like there were in the last one. There's 2 major battles in Fellowship. There's 1 major battle in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think just because of the scale of the major battle, that it takes up 40 minutes of the movie, roughly.
Some amount of time there. So, but yeah, I'm still gonna keep mine down at the 9 for this one.
Well, weird. I wonder how Return of the King's gonna do.
Probably a little lower.
Oh God, who are you?
I'm Spider-Man.
No, you're not. Stop.
All right, so we're gonna hop into spoilers for this movie. There we go. I did it. For some reason, my transitionings aren't working. We're in spoilers now. We did kind of spoil a bit during the non-spoiler part, but not in the order that it happened, so you don't have to worry.
And also, we didn't explicitly say stuff about this 18-year-old movie. God damn it! I don't remember the fucking goddamn. Oh, we didn't even talk about Carl Urban. What a rad guy. He's just good in things.
Carl Urban. Which one was he? Sorry.
What? Oh, he was Aramorn. The writer, the main writer, the guy from The Boys.
Urban. Why can't I find?
Eomer. Emor.
Eomer? I don't know. Him. Oh. The main writer from Rohan. The one
Yeah.
who was exiled.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, he was just another person in this movie. Like, he didn't really stand out.
No, but it's just Kyle Urban, dude. I love Kyle Urban.
Like, yes, I'll give you that, sure. Like, just all the actors in this movie are good. There's, like... I don't think there's
What the fuck is he?
Who? Are you looking for him in the movie? Like, in the list?
Yeah.
He is...
Alder? That him? Hold on.
Aomer.
Yeah, he's Halder. Craig Parker.
Craig Parker. I see him now. And he's just another person that you liked as well?
Well, no, he's the elf.
Yeah, the one
around
that...
the bush on.
Yeah. The one that we didn't really have a backstory for, but Aragorn seems to like him.
Yeah, there's a connection there. Like, there's, like, small... Like, you get a little bit in Fellowship. But, like, imagine that. We get the build-up in Fellowship, and then we have that, like, the build-up episode, or the Nightfall episode, with those two having a moment.
I guess my question for you then is, since we're talking about Lord of the Rings, the TV show again, how do you think they're going to divide the movies into seasons?
That's tough, because each season would almost feel like different shows.
Each movie would have to be, like, at the very least one season. And if that's the case, they would have to expand the 3-hour movie to 8 hours, maybe? If we're being generous?
8 hours at a minimum.
So we're in opposite perspectives on that. A lot of, like...
No, because, like...
a lot of TV series have been, like, 10 episodes or less now.
No. I'm saying, but, like... let's say it's 8 episodes per season.
Mm-hmm.
An hour per episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, minimum, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So you're saying minimum of 8. I'm saying, like, we'll probably get a maximum of 8 episodes.
Oh, well... It could be both. I think we're both right that, like, I think 8 is going to be the sweet spot per season. Now, do they split them? Do they split the movies?
You mean, like, some of Fellowship in season 2? Or...
Well, yeah. Like, is your first movie getting, like... Is your first season them getting to Rivendell?
I don't think it would be that dramatic. Unless there's a lot in the unless there's a lot that we're missing it from the books to the movies, but I don't think we're missing a lot. Seeing as each one of these movies is 3 hours long.
I agree. Yeah, the theatrical cut is like barely under 3 hours. Wait till we get to next week. It's well over. Like, the extended cut is like 30 extra minutes. If I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, my thought on it is, like, you would have to add more planes of action. Like, there would have to be more, the ring race would have to do more during it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to have episodes establishing Legolas, Gimli, or parts of episodes establishing our fellowships, and them getting to Rivendell as well.
Then I worry that we're shoving in too many things that are.
Oh, I would agree, but
like,
it's Amazon. Let's see. Do we think they would do it?
Probably not. Like, one thing that I already worry about is that they're going to add too much action as is. Like, when I think of The Lord of the Rings, I don't think of action films. I think of epics. And yes. I feel like if things are going to be remade, they're going to be remade in a more action-y sense, in, like, an action film way. Like, they
need to be more Game of Thrones early days, not later days.
Basically, yes. So, if they can do that, if that's what their plan is, sure. But
would you want to see anyone return to roles?
Not really, no. Like, I would love... The most I'd be okay with is maybe seeing a returning actor in a different role, but not the exact same role.
You know who I want to see return? In the way that you want? Have Elijah Wood return as the barkeep in the first movie.
Why the barkeep?
Well, because it's just such a small role, and it doesn't affect things. But have him like do the questioning look when he hears Frodo say Frodo whatever.
Oh, like the last name, yeah.
Yeah. Like, because it'd almost be a nudge and smirk to us at the same time. Like, he's supposed to do that, but also we know he knows because it's Elijah Wood and he played this man before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a funny one.
Like, I would love to see Sean Astin, the guy who plays Samwise, but I don't know which role I'd like to see him in.
The only person that I also feel like, as much as I love Sir Ian McKellen, I don't want him to return as Gandalf because I think The Hobbit burnt that for him.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Weaving, on the other hand. Yeah, I think, honestly, he's the only person I see, like, personally that I would be like, yes, that's cool to have him return.
You know, I might be okay with Orlando Bloom being Legolas still. Because, you know, elf
magic. He doesn't age much.
Yeah.
Those two, we're fine with those two returning. Elf magic. The two most important elves of the movies. Shit. Also, like, maybe even Kate Blanchett, I could feel comfortable with returning.
I think it's kind of... Sorry, 1 second. I think it's kind of funny that the IMDb here is showing who would you cast as Frodo, and the person that's right next to him is Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like, Jake Gyllenhaal is Frodo Baggins.
Well, he almost did.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah, he did. He almost played Frodo. Which
I don't think I could see it myself, but
I think also like it's one of those things that, like, once the person is that character, like, that's how we see that character.
Mm-hmm.
At least from that time, like, because I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal also almost played Spider-Man. Man, he missed out on a lot of fucking roles.
God damn it, Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood and Tobey Maguire both stole those two from him. Could you imagine if he had both of those roles in the early 2000s?
We would not see him. We would not have seen him in Spider-Man if that was the case.
No, he would not. We would have gotten one or the other, but we got neither.
So
there's an alternate world where he's in both, though.
Well, sorry, what I meant by that was if we got him, Jake Gyllenhaal, in both Spider-Man and Lord of the Rings,
we would never got an Elijah Wood.
We never would have had Jake Gyllenhaal in the most recent Spider-Man.
Oh, no, without a doubt, no. But then we could get Tobey Maguire as the...
Yes, then he would be...
Mysterio.
Oh, God. Okay, so... Spoilers. What specific spoiler do we want to talk about? If there are any specific spoilers for this movie that we want to talk about.
I'm not sure. Like... Battle of Helm's Deep is just good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The surfboard is kind of the dumbest part, though.
Surfboarding down the stairs?
Yeah. It's such a 2000s thing.
Yeah. Look how actiony cool this elf man is.
X Games! Epic. Totally radical. Burr, 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 burr. Like, that's all, like... It would be one of those COD montage jokes where, like, you get the hit markers everywhere and then the Mountain Dew pops up. Like, when people make that joke, that's that moment. That is that moment ever like, that joke etched into film. And that hadn't even happened yet. So, like, the fact that that scene just describes the 2000s entirely, sliding down headshots and being just... What the fuck?
I thought the scene that encapsulated the 2000s perfectly was, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Dude, they said that and my brain went, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
God. The chicken, the hobbits, the chicken, the hobbits, to Isengard, to Isengard.
Isengard.
Yeah, no.
Like, my brain instinctively rewinded for a second, and I'm like, no. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
So,
Stop.
there's that. One thing that I did appreciate a lot was you could see the development of the relationship between Gollum and Frodo quite a bit in this movie. Especially for key moments, like the specific moments that I could think of were in the Dead Swamp, where Frodo is saved by Gollum and doesn't even say, like, you owe me, or, like, there was no, like, conversation other than, I saved you, make sure you're safe, and that's it. And he appreciated that. Followed by Sam supposedly just messing up and causing the problems that they get into later on with the mountain slide. And it's like, it's minor things where it's just like, if this didn't happen, then we wouldn't be here, and if this didn't happen, we wouldn't be here. And you can kind of see the connections forming for relationship things that happen in the future. That also being said, I like how they paid off the distance jumping with Gimli, where in the past he couldn't make the jump, so he had to be grabbed by his beard by an elf, and in this one he has to be thrown across the distance because he knows he can't make that gap, but he still doesn't want the elf to know.
You're gonna have to throw me.
You're gonna have to touch me.
What?
I can't jump the distance. You're gonna have to touch me. Don't tell the elf.
Don't tell the elf.
And I just loved his face the whole time too. Like, oh, really? Lord Dwarf.
Tell the elf.
And then he's throwing. Yeah.
Torbjorn.
17.
And then they get out of there with the fucking rope. I love that. Like, it was like, Aragorn tosses your rope, he grabs Gimli.
Yeah, my thought was, thank goodness the Uruk-hai don't have bow and arrows or crossbows.
Wait. Hold up. No, they're too busy with the ladders and shooting at the actual archers. Oh God. Man, I love this movie, man.
Go ahead.
This is one of my, like, I think this would be the other movie in my top 3. I've talked about the other two that are in my top 3 for me, which is Empire's always my number 1, and Endgame's up there just because of, like, I still occasionally go through and watch videos of the cinematic, like, reaction to scenes, especially at the end, because, like, that is an experience that I will never get again. And I think that, like, I want that to be etched into my brain forever. It's just crowd reactions to moments in that, which normally I hate, but, like, that was such a movie that, like, was almost lifted higher because of it. And this one for me because it's etched into my childhood almost as much as Empire is. Which the rest of my top 5 was, 1917, which we watched in Into the Spider-Verse. Which we've reviewed both of those movies, and obviously those are automatically in my top 5. But, like, this is one of them just because of, like, how, like, etched into it. I also gotta say, like, Toy Story would probably be in top 5, but I don't know if you can have multiple, like, more than 5 in your top 5, so...
I mean, if you have them tied for 5th place, maybe.
There's gonna be a lot tied for 5th place.
Well, you're one of those people. My top 5 favorite movies, there's a 10-way tie for 5th.
Don't out me like this.
And then there's a 6-way tie for 4th. My favorite movie is a tie between movie 1 and 2.
No, that's not how it works, because if there's 6 for 4th, then it would be, after that would be 10th. We're going off of Mario Kart rules. No, well, like, the other thing, too, is just, like, it's... Like, a lot of it might be nostalgia forever, but, like, I'm okay with that. It's just, it's one of those films for me.
I can appreciate that. All right. So, do we have anything else that we want to spoil? Should we just go to news?
I think we can go on to news.
Okay.
Big news, everyone! I was cast as Frodo.
Yeah. No. So yeah, we're in the news now.
God, I wish.
No transition.
How fucking cool that'd be.
Just to be.
You know what? I'm getting a little bit of a gut. Maybe I can get cast as Sam.
You make sure you grow some hairy feet.
I'm Irish. That's just in the genes, bro. I've always had hobbit feet. That's always been a joke of mine. Like when I hit puberty and all of a sudden my feet had hair, I'm like, oh shit, I'm a hobbit.
Yeah, that was actually one thing that I liked in the first movie, is that they like the juxtaposition between the hobbits and the elves was like you could see Frodo walking down the steps to see Galadriel, and then you see Galadriel standing there just kind of waiting, and then we have a close up of his dirty, hairy feet, and then we have a close up of her pristine white hands reaching into the mirror, and it's like, well, I guess that's what these two are, their hands and their feet. Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay,
so movie news. I'm gonna rapid fire some minor news real fast. Disney has communicated some more dates and times for movies, like the movie Soul, which was gonna be a cartoon movie about jazz and what jazz could do for you. That's been moved to November of this year, November 20th, and the movie Raya and the Last Dragon was going to be released November 20th. Is now coming out March 12th. Those are Disney animated and Pixar movies coming out that have been postponed. Trolls World Tour broke on-demand records this last week because it was the most on-demand purchased movie of our time.
You paid $20 to see that?
Yes, they did. A lot of people did. It says here the studio did add the figures up, and they were approximately 10 times higher than that of Universal's next biggest opening day for a traditional digital release. And that was from TheWrap.com. Let's see.
I'm not okay with that.
Right. Let's see. James Gunn has come out to say that the coronavirus won't cause delays for Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Let's see. That's pretty much the...
Oh, you know what? Can we have James Gunn direct the next Deadpool?
Sure.
No, James Gunn and Taika Waititi.
I don't think, like, as much as I like both of them, I'm not sure how well they'd work well together, in all honesty. Like...
Fair. But you know how awesome that, like, the attempt would be? The only movie they could do it with would be Deadpool. With at least franchise-wise.
Maybe if they got to handle different personalities of Deadpool?
Like, see, because I see both of them being okay with thought bubbles being popped up on screen. Like, those internal conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just like I thought about when you brought up James Gunn.
Okay. There's this article here from today by Variety, which is saying that Lionsgate has announced that it'll be streaming The Hunger Games, La La Land, John Wick, and Dirty Dancing for free on YouTube for these next 4 Fridays.
Wait, all the Hunger Games?
I don't know. It just says The Hunger Games. It might be just the original, but it could be all 4.
Oh, thank God.
Let's see. Netflix has signed a contract deal for possibly producing TV shows for Boom! Studios, a comic book.
Yeah, saw that comic book, yeah.
Yeah, a comic book line. That's a bit of news there. Apparently Quibi is starting to gain popularity, but I'm not sure.
I heard it wasn't great when it launched.
Yeah, because nobody knows what Quibi is. No one ever... the commercials don't explain what Quibis are. And
apparently all it is videos that are formatted to this.
Yes, vertically rather than horizontally.
Which would bug the shit out of me.
And they're all less than 10 minutes long.
Which would bug the shit out of me. Because you want to know what I do? My poops are... I take longer poops, okay?
And they're probably about 10, 12 minutes long, I'd say, on average.
For me, probably.
Mine's the same, so you don't have to worry.
I mean, technology probably adds to that, but, like, my diet doesn't help either. So... Until I actually start eating healthy again.
Have you watched your phone recently?
Have I what?
Watched your phone recently?
Anyways.
Let's see. The only other news that I have is Star Wars news. With with Rosario Dawson joining the Mandalorians for live-action versions of the show of Ahsoka Tano.
There's a lot of contention about this
because it's not the actual voice actress.
And I can't remember. Did Rosario Dawson have some controversy?
I don't. We could find that out. Rosario Dawson news. I do not know.
Oh, that was it. Okay. Apparently Rosario Dawson at one point, from what, like, I only heard, like, murmur of this, okay? I didn't actually fully look into it, because at the time it was only murmur that Rosario Dawson would play Ahsoka. Apparently she assaulted a trans man.
Oh.
So that's part of the controversy of choosing her.
Okay. Part of me doesn't like social media, in all honesty. You can't do anything wrong ever if you're famous, or else you'll never be hired for another job again.
Well, it also kind of depends on when this reportedly happened. The suit happened. The lawsuit over just because it's a anti-discrimination lawsuit that happened that brought this to light. Mm-hmm. Was filed in October 2019. Which means it had to have happened more recent than not, right? Given how...
But at the same time...
I don't know law very well.
Yeah, you could also still lose your job for saying something on Twitter 10 years ago.
Well, I think my personal opinion on has development since then is something that needs to be taken into account. Like, has the person grown since then and changed and become better? Because, like, I look at... You go back and look at anyone's history, you're going to find stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. But have they strived to be a better person since then is how I look at it. Because, like, honestly, like, look at us, okay? We grew up in a very, very bigoted town. That is the best way to put it.
It's an easy way to put it, yeah.
Some of that, like, at that time... seeped into everyone in some ways. But, like, as soon as I got out of there, man, that shit dropped like a rock. Mm-hmm. Like, it was gone. Because I guess I was away from where, like, for me, most of that happened. And I mean, I lost some friends because of it, whatever. But like, I don't know. It's just yes and no to your thought on it. Like, I agree, but with context.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is how I look at it. Like, if the person's still spouting the same shit, um, like with the guy from SNL that got fired within a day,
Mm-hmm.
he was still somewhat recently saying the same shit that he got caught for years ago.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't show like that you learned from that and move forward.
Yeah, but he's also not somebody that was really all over the internet when he found out that he was fired for it.
No. But it just kind of shows anyone is up for it. Because like a counter to that is there was this one guy who was going around helping a lot of people and making money to help people and stuff like that. Like in his community, I can't remember exactly the whole story to it, but like someone looked up his history and was like, oh, this guy, like a reporter looked up his internet history and reported on it. And I was like, yeah, this guy tweeted this once. And everyone was on the side of the guy.
Like, it feels like to me, like, what's a good analogy for it? It's like, imagine if Bill Gates was donating to a child orphanage, and then a report comes out that's like, Bill Gates donates to child orphanage to hide the fact that he's a pedophile because 20 years ago he did a Google search for teen porn, and I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know.
That would be different. It's because personal opinion, that shit is wrong on way too many levels.
I was going on a weird example.
I know you were going on a tangent, but I will allow. I will motion carried for the tangent. But again, like I think it's also just context. Because like, let's say like Bill Gates donating a ton of things. No offense, I'm not a fan of the super elite rich. Despite some of the good they do, in my opinion, is you really can't have that much money without actually, hurting other people to get there. But beside that, like, let's say Bill Gates, was donating to an orphanage, all that, and like it comes out that like, oh, he tweeted back in 2000 or tweeted back in 1997 this. Like, it would depend on what it was. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, for instance, I read this article earlier today. It was an article, I think, by the New Yorker or Washington Post or one of those. It was that Bob Iger is now reasserting control over Disney during this pandemic to help transition the studio into its next phase afterwards. So he's gone from being the CEO and stepping down to now essentially going to the executive chairman and being in charge of Disney again. But this news article that I had read was like, did Bob Iger retire from Disney because he was well connected and knew that the Chinese virus, the spread of the spread of the coronavirus was happening in China, and that if he didn't leave now, that his reputation would be ruined? And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, that's some dumb shit, agreedably.
And I feel like that's what a lot of media articles can be.
No, I agree with that. Well, that's also because a lot of media is just chasing the headline at this point. You got to get those clicks.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree with that as well, because a lot of it is just trying to get the clicks. So,
okay.
But I mean, they also need to make a hustle. So, it is the era we live in.
So I haven't got any other news. Have you got some news?
There was something about Daisy Ridley talking about
Backlash.
Yeah, but I didn't actually look into it because I'm so exhausted with that movie.
Yeah, like I feel bad for any actor or actress who gets railed from a community about their portrayal in a movie, because a lot of the times it's not their fault. It's either the director's fault or it's the writer's fault. But it's still the actors or the actresses that get the backlash. So that's
they're the face of it.
Yes. So that's probably what's happening here. Is they didn't like how the movie was written and directed, and Daisy Ridley, being the main character of the franchise, got a lot of talking to.
Yeah. Daisy, we all thought you were great here.
Here at Critically Casual, the two of us thought you did fine. Now, the other 5 million people in the world, in the U.S., so sure.
We'll see.
All right.
You might have to turn some heads. News? Or we're done with news. Wrap up?
Yep. So, next week, if it's not obvious what we're doing next week, we're finishing up Lord of the Rings. Like, simple as that. We got one more movie of Lord of the Rings to finish up. We're going to watch that.
Nothing else after it. Nothing else exists after it.
My dad was wondering, so what are you guys going to do for the Hobbits? Are you going to do each one individually as well? It's like, no, Dad. No.
God, no. God, no. I don't know if I could do that. I think there's just too much. It's already, honestly, that one episode is probably going to be a long one.
Well, we're watching 3 movies in one. Of course it's going to be a long
one. We're watching
one.
3 extended edition movies in one, and they are 3 movies that we aren't fond of, fans are very fond of. I was stuttering tonight. I don't know why. I didn't even have, like, any energy drinks today.
That's why. You're out of energy. Your brain's just struggling to keep going.
I think so.
So I guess my internet's out of energy too, apparently. So I guess we're done here.
Yeah, just so you guys know, we will be, hopefully this Friday, we will have our first horror podcast back. And hopefully not the last to come. So, yeah.
All right.
Hopefully it's a return to full form, sort of.
We'll see. So, with that in mind, thank you for joining us this week, everybody. I hope, give us a like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, ding the icons. I don't know. Donate if you want to. You don't have to. It's your choice, or whatever. Follow us on Twitter, join our Discord, all that fun stuff. And then we will see you guys next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for, the Return of the King.
Huh?
Yeah, all right.
Huh?
Yeah, all right.
Sounds about right.
Cool. So until then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.